So we're joined from the campus of Oklahoma State University in Stillwater, Oklahoma, by Assistant Professor of Ag Leadership in the Ferguson College of Agriculture there at Oklahoma State. My girl, Dr. Courtney Brown. Thank you so much for taking some time for us today. This time we're in the Education and Training career cluster, and I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us now for the fourth time.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. It's always a pleasure to connect with you and all the students. So, hello.
Obviously, we want to talk about all what a college professor does, how you got into the role, but just take us back a little bit because you're originally from Memphis and you were a Division I athlete. And I've got mainly females in here with me today, but I've got a lot of athletes. So you were a Division I athlete and were a scholar athlete. So take us back to growing up in Memphis, then going to Austin P, and what it's like to be the balance being an athlete with being a student and then having an on-campus job in the middle of all that.
Yeah, so sports was just always a big part of my life. Soon as I kind of picked up a basketball, I just in third grade just kept playing, and then in high school was when I started just branching out. 10th grade, so even if you haven't grown up playing a sport, there's still an opportunity to get a scholarship if you work really hard. So when I got into high school, I started trying to play volleyball, and then I picked up track, and I was actually a thrower. And it was just so fun. I was so blessed to have a great coach, great support system, and my parents and my brother. So it just kind of took off and got recruited because in life it's always been like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then God finds a way of making me do that because I didn't want to go to college and play sports. I said, I've done it my whole life. I'm ready to just be a student, not a student athlete. And then got recruited. So then when I went to Austin P, where I met your lovely teacher, I started just really kind of learning the process of being a Division I athlete. It was rigorous. I mean, and I wasn't fearful of the work, but it was like, okay, we're lifting weights 6 a.m. And I'll never forget when I got there, I was a thrower. I wasn't used to a lot of running. And they were telling us like what we were doing for conditioning and running. And I was like the only thrower. And I'm thinking like, are they talking to me? Like, am I included? We don't run like that. So it was definitely a mind shift of what the whole like training the body holistically, but still grades were very important for me. Just to kind of that first year I had to figure it out. But after that, just wanted to ensure I'm excelling academically. I still needed a job because I'm not rich, so I still needed to work. So that's where our paths crossed with reffing. So that became a lot of fun, not only just being around sports in a different way, maybe playing some sports that I probably shouldn't have been playing as a college athlete, but doing that on the side, but then building community elsewhere. So it was definitely a hard balance, between 6 a.m. workouts, practice multiple times a day. I trained extra because I just knew I needed to put in extra work so I could be competitive on the field. So it was a lot of skill development, resilience building, a lot of mental training that I feel like carries me through my career today. So it was definitely a very big part of my life, sports, and I still try to play now.
And there's a lot of time management because you mentioned, when you are a scholarship athlete, first of all, scholarships are not 4-year deals. They're 1-year deals. And if you're not cutting it, they're going to find somebody else to give your scholarship to. These coaches have their job on the line. So you guys were going to Illinois, y'all were going to Missouri, y'all were going to Indiana, y'all were going to Kentucky. You're going all over the area, and then you had to get back and still take care of the grades. Now, I got to throw a little shade here because our basketball team here played last night, and one of our players isn't here today. Now, hopefully she's okay. But high school athletes tend to think that, well, I played the game last night, I need to take the next day off at school. College doesn't work like that. Now, obviously, with the new technology with online classes, makes it a little bit easier now, so you can take care of things remotely. But you can't take a day off from school just because you're tired from the game the night before.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, being a college athlete is a privilege, you know, and it is a privilege that comes with a lot of responsibility. But in the classroom, you still got to put in the work, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be an athlete forever. Like, there's going to be a point where it ends. Even if you're a professional athlete, like, it's going to end at some point. So the things that you build in the classroom are going to be coupled with what you build as an athlete as well. So it was very important that I still made it to class on time, was present, engaged, built relationships with my professors. So when I needed a little bit of an extra support, I could get that.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I always tell the story, and I still think it's funny. When I was a senior at Southern Miss, our football team played a Thursday night football game in Alabama, at Birmingham, Alabama, on ESPN, national TV. They got back really, really late. I think like 2 in the morning. I'm walking across campus at not even 9 o'clock, and I see the guy that took a punt to the house the night before on ESPN walking to class, and I'm like, dude. He goes, man, I couldn't miss this test. So it doesn't matter if you're the superstar or not. These professors really don't care that you are an athlete. At the end of the day, they have a job to do, which is what you do now. Now, I think it's so cool because being a college professor is something that no matter what field you're in, there's always going to be a need for. And people think education is just, K through 12 teaching. And look, we need more K through 12 teachers. I hope more people can, some of our kids consider getting into it. But this is also an opportunity to be a teacher, but also be a community advocate, because you not only teach your class, you're involved in the community with the ag extension there at Oklahoma State. And you do a great job of not only getting kids into the field, but preparing them and doing research. So, a college professor only teaches 2 or 3 classes a semester for 10 hours a week, but there is a lot more work that goes into it. So, and all of our teachers have gone to college, and maybe some of our students may be doing the dual enrollment in high school. But this is something that no matter what field you go into, you could probably pivot into if you really had a passion for education, even as an adjunct, as a part-time teacher. So, talk about some of the responsibilities that maybe people don't see of a college professor.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I think when I was in college, I just thought college professors taught, and that was really it. But I learned very quickly that that is just only a portion, like you said, of it. So college professors can have a variety of splits and how what their day looks like. As you mentioned, I teach a lot. Majority of my appointment is teaching. So I teach in the fall and spring semester, but I also have a 25% of extension, as you mentioned, with community work. And that's some of the most rewarding work. So I teach college level, like at the undergraduate level and grad. So people working on their bachelor's, master's, and their PhDs. But then also I get to mix it up, and I work at a land grant. So Oklahoma State is a land grant university where we are tasked to serve our community. We're tasked to see what the problems they're experiencing, go do some research, figure out and learn a little bit more about it, and then extensions where we take the research, develop a solution, and bring it to the people and implement it. So I think in my role as a professor, what I didn't expect is that I get to kind of do that whole process, and I get to bring college students along with me to enjoy kind of the benefits of supporting our community. I get to do projects with youth. I do a lot of work with trying to encourage the black community to either get more engaged in farming and agriculture, or I get to support a lot of the black agriculturalists or farmers in the field. But then I also look at opportunities, like in a couple weeks we're bringing kids from a local youth shelter to our campus so they can experience ag. So I get a lot of autonomy to be creative and say, oh, this is a need, I want to create a program for it. So it's been a lot of opportunity to be able to create solutions for problems that people are experiencing in my community.
Yeah, and it takes some research to see what the technological advancements are, what the career trends are, because in a way, you guys almost act like recruiters. Even though you're not an admissions counselor, you advocate for your program. We have an alum here at Velma Jackson that is in mass communication. She does the same thing for her program as a professor. She comes and she brings the cameras and she said, here's what you're going to do in my program. We're going to set up the cameras and make TV reels. And you may not be the admissions counselor for the university, but you're recruiting for your program to say, hey, here's the career opportunities and here's the hands-on training you're going to get.
No, absolutely. It is a lot of, you're kind of the face of the university, even when you're, just out and about engaging with people. And I think I've been really blessed that my job can align with things that really matter to me. So I get to create programs where I can, have kids talk about the impact that it's had on their lives. Or I meet students that were like, man, I never thought about that career until I met you. And now it's changed my whole trajectory of like what I want to explore, or now I want to go to grad school for this or whatever. So I think being in this kind of position, it gives you a lot of opportunity for exposure, but also relationship building, and you are impacting lives just being in the education field, hopefully opening the minds of the students or the people you encounter, and that people feel like you're really genuine with it. So yeah, the recruiting side is one of those underlying things that you maybe aren't intentionally doing, but the interaction you have could definitely sway someone to consider maybe a pathway in the university. Or even for me, sometimes it's just like, let's find what your fit is. Even if it isn't the university, I have access to resources. Let me try to get you connected and plugged in so you can still reach your goals.
Yeah, and you have great partnerships with the local high schools. You have great partnerships with a lot of the area businesses that will be hiring. And and even when I was in college, I didn't major in ag, but I used my professors to say, "Hey, who in the area would be is a great Southern Miss alum and could possibly sponsor this?" So the community supporters, a lot of the local alums, and it really is such a great partnership that the university in any place here in Mississippi or in Oklahoma builds with the community. Now, something you mentioned was the interactions. And I think that's so important. And I know I get on a soapbox about this, and these kids get so sick of me talking about this, but I could talk about this for weeks. When it comes to interactions, I don't care what field you go into, but especially if you're going to be in higher education, whether you're in ag, whether you're in marketing, whether you're working in the rec center like I was, you've got to be able to talk. You've got to be able to speak. You've got to speak confidently, and you've got to be the expert on what you're talking about. So, for example, if somebody comes to your class and knows nothing about ag, you've got to be the one to explain it to them. You've been in front of a TV camera on a few occasions. We were able to find some clips of you speaking to the media. So, this is a career where you cannot be shy speaking. And even though I've got an immense amount of talent in this room with me today, I think I speak for every teacher. And for this generation, the biggest challenge that they face is mastering those speaking skills. And it's not that they're not capable. We've got all their phones put up now because the district's making them be off of it, but they're so in the TikTok and to the Instagrams, and that's fine. Just if you want to get entertainment off that. But at the end of the day, I think this generation has lost a lot of these communication skills. So, in order to be successful in higher education, which can be a very rewarding and eventually very lucrative field, and less gives you a chance to make an impact, but you've got to be able to speak. You've got to be able to articulate, and you've got to be able to make sure everybody around you understands what is being communicated.
Yeah, you're right. And I think additionally to that point, that first impression means so much. And I just got back from a conference where I was able to connect and reconnect with some people that I met when I had my first big girl job. PhD was not on the radar. I just finished my master's. I was like, I'm not going back to school ever. And just working a job, but I met some people along the way. And now, full circle, I'm still engaging with some of those people, even though I'm in a very different role now. But they mentioned that first impression they had of me. So, as you mentioned, like you have to always put your best foot forward, be yourself, because I think there's a lot of value in being yourself. But there's still a levels to, just being able to, if you get nervous in front of people, work on that. Work on just kind of polishing your chops so you can communicate things clearly. There's like tons of clubs and things you can join, that leadership development, that professionalism, like putting yourself together, just making sure you're doing the best you can, because people just kind of take and they can tell like you're putting your best foot forward no matter what. So it's not like all about name brands and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, can you tell you put some time and put some effort into making sure like, hey, this is the best version of myself, and I have pride in myself. And like you said, I'm confident in myself and I'm confident in my ability, but I'm also willing to see where my weaknesses are and work on that too. And people appreciate that transparency because they know you can be developed. So yes, absolutely. Communication is huge. Even like professional emails, like with students, just have a professional, don't treat the email like a text message. send me an email, put a subject, greet me, and then tell me what you need, and then sign it. Just little stuff like that. When I see that with students, I'm like, okay, that's great. Like that is a next level thing that seems so simple, but it goes so far.
Yeah, and something else I think is important too. I know Oklahoma State, y'all have a great partnership with Mississippi State, and the more I read about them, it is amazing how parallel the two universities are serving their communities and similar sizes, similar type atmospheres. And we have some kids that maybe have talked about wanting to go to Mississippi State. And I mean, obviously, if they'd love to come to Oklahoma State, y'all love to have them too. When you go to a large university like that, I know they're very comparable in size around, anywhere up to 20,000 students. So it is very easy to get lost in the shuffle when you go to a college. I graduated with over 500 people, and even me going to a large university, it was overwhelming. And we're a small community, and I've had numerous kids tell me I went to this big school, and as soon as I got there, I was overwhelmed. So how important is it to make sure you're not lost in the shuffle? Because professors have posted office hours. It is important for you to get to know them. You don't have to be their buddies, but find out what opportunities there are. If you need extra help with something, most universities are going to require that a professor to be available X amount of hours. So, and then you mentioned about student organizations. The GPA is awesome. You need to have a great GPA, but you need to have a resume of a network and things you've been involved in because companies, ad companies, whatever, are going to want to see, okay, well, what type of service have you done as well? So when it comes to that making a name for yourself and building your network in college, why is that just as important as having that GPA?
Yeah, it just shows you're well rounded and you're able to balance multiple things and that you have more dimension to you. And it just shows you kind of, I think also additional value that maybe isn't like written out, but an additional value is that you actually can engage with different kind of people, different groups of people, because you are in different spaces. So that is really huge in just helping enrich the college experience. I mean, even looking back now, I'm like, man, there were other things I could have gotten involved in that I didn't even really know about. I think another part of it too is finding a good mentor when you're in college, just someone that you can kind of bounce ideas off of, you can trust, and that you can kind of share what your career goals are, and they're willing to support you along the way. I think that stuff is really huge, especially at big colleges, because I know when I came to OSU, granted, I was coming as a master's student, but I was a little culture shock when I moved to Oklahoma. It was very different than Memphis and even just like Austin P to some degree. I was one of the only Black students in my program, so that was a big adjustment to try to find community. So I had to go seek places where I could kind of build that support system that I needed for the things that I wanted to be engaged in, but also it helped build me professionally. So I think finding areas where you can develop professionally and find the community of support so you don't feel like you're just a number is super, super important.
Yeah. Now, before I get to their questions, and you just hit on kind of something I wanted to talk about because obviously Oklahoma State is a PWI, great Big 12 sports atmosphere and everything, but it is just like every other university, it can never be too diverse. You are the only black female professor in that Ferguson College, and I want to say the only black professor, if I'm not mistaken. And that's something that you should really be proud of, and I think that's great. But as these kids don't understand just because somebody in your family wasn't a college professor doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can be the first at something and really add some thought, really add some experience. And to me, it would add to the student experience to say, I had a multitude of backgrounds of professors and I got all these different perspectives in that. So and again, and even at our HBCUs, we need more diverse professors. Jackson State has one of the most diverse faculties I've ever seen. Even though they are an HBCU, they have professors from all over the world, from all backgrounds. So why should kids even, whether they're ag or not, whether whatever they have a passion for, why is it important to consider being a part of the academic community, even if you just want to be an adjunct and teach part time at a university to add to that diversity of a faculty of a college.
Yeah, I think just being in the academic space, I've been working in the university for over 10 years now, but as a professor, just for about 3 years. So you're right. I believe I'm definitely the first Black professor in my department for sure. And I'm the first person in my family to get a PhD. That's what my granddad told me. So I think it's like he said he knew. He pushed me to go. And I think it's one of those things, just seeing the people around you and blazing trails that maybe seem a little bit uncomfortable. I know with my work, especially being at OSU, I do a lot of Black focused work, and I don't think anybody has done that in the agricultural space before. And I know a lot of my constituents, like the farmers I serve and the youth I support, I go to a lot of predominantly Black schools to bring ag programming and those sorts of things. And even with the youth shelter, like I think I'm bringing a lens because I didn't grow up in ag. I didn't grow up with a lot of the same experiences. So I am going to go after the groups that don't get the support or get the engagement. That's where I focus. And I think that brings a different experience and expertise to try to engage with those populations. And it makes me feel like, if I wasn't here at least starting it, then maybe others wouldn't consider it. So it's like, yeah, maybe I'm the first, but it's that saying, don't be the last. So I'm always trying to find opportunities because there are challenges, and I'm transparent about that. But I know I'm here for a reason that's bigger than myself to support people. So I think others should join the field and just contribute to it, your own unique gifts and perspectives, because it's very, very, very needed. Very needed.
Yeah, and you'll never hear an argument from me. I'll be the first person to tell you rural communities, especially rural Black communities, were left behind for decades and all types of resources and opportunities. But there has never been a better time to be the first person to do something. And I always say, like you said, you can be the first, don't be the last. I always say you can be the first and then be the best. So just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean you can't do it. So I do have some great questions from the students, and like I said, with the exception of one young man, I have all females in here with me today. So I think it's always great for them to see successful Black women. But this person is Michaela Burks. She's in 10th grade, one of our award-winning choir members here and member of the volleyball team. And she
Congratulations.
asked, what education would be required to be a college professor?
Yeah, it's different levels to it. So at my level, I'm a tenure track professor, which kind of go through the ranks of, like, you start off as an assistant professor, you move into associate professor, and then you're full professor. So with that, you do have to have a PhD. So you'll have your bachelor's degree, or you could have an associate's degree first, then a bachelor's degree, and then a master's, and then a PhD or education like a EDD. So just some kind of what they call a terminal degree, which means it's kind of that highest level of education, like as far as the degrees you can get. So normally that's what you need, and they do look at like the experience you have. If you're doing research, you got to have some research experience, community work, or teaching experience. So a lot of those things kind of work in, but that's the education track that you would need to have to be able to be like an assistant or a tenure track professor in my role.
Yeah, and then also, and we mentioned a couple times the part-time professors. A lot of high school teachers teach part-time at community colleges, or they may, or even at the four-year colleges if there's a specialized class. I think it's so cool. A lot of times, even in y'all's experience, if there's a specialized class that the students want offered and y'all don't have experience in it, they'll bring somebody in to teach the one class, and that's the only thing they do. And I've always thought that was so cool about in that, for people that say, well, I don't want to be a school teacher, I won't make enough money. Well, you can make a decent supplemental income as an adjunct professor, and I know they're a huge asset to every college department.
Oh, yes. We have some. There's so much variety in what a professor looks like and what they like, what kind of degrees they need to have. It's so much variety depending on where you're at and what kind of university you're at or college.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, the thing I can think of is the music departments have probably more adjunct professors than any department in the country. And because,
Really?
if somebody wants to learn an instrument, they got to find somebody who can play it. So if you have a lot of people that are in orchestras and they'll teach part time, making really good money. So for our musicians, adjunct professor could be a great extra little change for you. I like this one. This is Brianna Carson. She's in 10th grade, and she asked, "What inspired you to get into teaching? Because you said you originally didn't want to."
Yeah. I think, the opportunity, because I was getting my PhD paid for, and they're like, you're going to have to teach. So it was like, okay, I will do that. You got to kind of take the opportunity and what comes with it. But what I found, and even my mom told me before I started, I was like, man, I don't know. I don't think I want to teach. And I didn't think, what I was really concerned with is I couldn't build the same relationships with the students like I did when I worked at Langston because I was just a organization advisor. And there wasn't that like formality of grading and all of that. But my mom was like, you might be surprised, Courtney. You might like it. So, and she was right. I started teaching and it was just so rewarding. And I was able to build relationships with students, and especially because I teach a lot of leadership content, and I do teach like African American ag content as well. But most of my teaching is leadership, so there's so much application to leadership theories and how to just be a better leader. So I just started really to enjoy how I could utilize the content to help develop the students. It was just in a different way. So that's what kind of opened the door for me to really like it. And I could be creative with my teaching experiences. Like I said, we're bringing the youth shelter to class. That's through my class. So I had a lot of freedom to kind of make the learning experience how I wanted, which also was really fun. So that's kind of what's made it exciting for me, and bringing relevant issues to the classroom that students
Oh,
haven't
big
really
time.
thought about.
I got time for two more, and I got an ag question here. I know you'll like this. This is Kaylin Bullock. She's in ninth grade, and she asks, "What do you see as the future of agriculture education?"
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I hope to see a variety of people joining the field and seeing the diversity of careers. One, I hope to see, more farmers in general, family owned farms, certainly Black farmers. I hope to see youth getting more engaged with agriculture outside of just things that maybe they traditionally think through farming. Like, because I want more farmers, but I want people that maybe don't want to grow, they can see a pathway to ag. So I'm just hopeful that we can get more into these pockets of elementary schools, urban communities, Black communities, and even growing the support and capacity in rural spaces to get more engagement at younger ages for larger groups to see that ag could be a career for them.
Yeah, and I got to get you connected with Kamika Gray, our friend who's the USDA liaison at Alcorn State, with
Yes.
their ag department, and they do a great. We have had several alums from Belmont Jackson, and I know the other schools had as well that have done that ag program at Alcorn, and had a lot of great hands-on experience. They got some cutting-edge technology down there, so I will
Oh,
definitely get y'all connected later. I got one more, and I couldn't leave my young man out here. So this is Ashton Leach.
yes.
He's in ninth grade, and he asks, "What is the biggest problem you've had working in this field?"
Ooh, that's a good one. Y'all got some good questions. Um, Probably the biggest problem I've had is sometimes just, it's a really good question. It's a few of them. I think maybe the biggest one is sometimes staying energized, because some of the work I do is a little heavy because it's dealing with just like maybe disparities and things like that, and the balance of it because it is work I'm passionate about. So balancing all the things that I have to do for my job along with my life while still like staying encouraged when I don't see a ton of people around me and maybe my like little circle doing the same kind of work. Like, I think, especially when you're kind of jumping into space and you're one of the first to do something, you kind of have to learn how to be the first and start bringing in new people to want to do that too. So I think that gets a little bit challenging because I do feel a lot of responsibility to the communities I serve. They're looking to me to like be a bridge. So I feel that responsibility and that weight, and sometimes that gets a little bit challenging. It's rewarding, but it's challenging because I don't want to be a bad steward of the
Yeah.
opportunity and resources I have. So that's a challenge for sure.
Awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, people can go to the Ferguson College of Agriculture website, see all the great programs you have, and and even if they don't want to go all the way to Oklahoma, check out these ag programs at these colleges. There are so many great careers, and you could get an ag degree and then say, "Hey, I really like teaching."
Yeah.
I had a great teacher. Maybe I would want to teach, and I'm just all about kids doing research. You may not even realize some of the great avenues in any major until you go and look. But the last thing I want to talk about before we go is, you said yourself, when you were in Memphis and then you were at Austin P, because we talked all the time for those years we were together, you never had on your radar being a college professor. And I think sometimes you still can't believe it. And you kind of fell into it, but now you love it and you're so great at it. So, why should kids be open to, just because you didn't think something when you're 15, 16, 17 years old doesn't mean you can't do it and be awesome at it.
Yeah, you're right. That definitely was not on my radar. I was just trying to learn how to do the right calls. That was my focus. I was trying to learn how to teach somebody up. So outside of that, I think it's just be open to finding out who you are. What is your purpose here on this earth? Like, what is something that you do better than anybody else? Nobody can do it like you. Like, what are you designed to do? And then be open to whatever pathways open up that align with that. And I think for me, my biggest thing, I've always wanted to help people, or it was animals at one point. I wanted to help animals, but then it turned into helping people. So my career path, even though it's looked different and I didn't always know what it was going to end up at, it's always been circled back to helping people. So find your purpose in something that's bigger than you. Be grounded in whatever you believe in. For me, my faith, and allow that to guide yourself and be open to it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we're only here for a short amount of time. So just find what you are supposed to be doing. And if you don't like it, you can shift and pivot. But just be open to trying something different, because you never know what door that could open.
Man, you said a word right there. Well, I know you got to get back to being mom and wife and everything. So we thank you so much for taking some time for us. Always one of my favorite guests, Dr. Courtney Brown, all the way from Stillwater, Oklahoma, Ferguson College of Agriculture, Oklahoma State University. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much. I always enjoy this. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay,
Have a
see you.
great Thanksgiving.
Oh, you too. See you later. Bye.